Hi there, it's Mark and welcome. I'm going to be talking about this. This will actually be the final talk on the book, Meditations. It's quite blustery outside. I've got the door open. You might hear the wind chime going quite heavily at times. So I've done 2 previous episodes to do with the book. The first one was Tips for Life, and the second one was Life. What's it for? In this one, there's not much else to say. He's pretty much said everything by the time you get 3/4 of the way through, and really apart from a few aphorisms, that's it. This particular book, a lot of it is notes. At least that much. And it's because Marcus Aurelius lived in a different era. He doesn't info dump because it's not a novel, it's notes, it's journal notes. He wasn't writing it for a specific audience. In fact, it's doubtful he was writing it for anybody apart from himself. So he's not making any effort to explain certain things that he's talking about. So I got to book 7 by the time I'd finished the second one, and there's 12 books in which he lays out his thoughts. So what else does he have to say? What I'm just going to give are just some jotting, some sayings, some things that he was mulling in his mind. And often they are things that we can take in our modern world. They ring true today just as much as they did in the past. For instance, do not be ashamed of help. It is your task to achieve your assigned duty, like a soldier in a scaling party. And a scaling party, and this is the lack of info dumping here, there were walls and there were ladders that would go up and people would try and scale. And in fact, for the ancient Romans, they were given a crown for getting the first up to the top of an enemy's wall. I always now think of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings in the movie. So you're here to do your assigned duty, like a soldier in a scaling party. What then if you are lame and cannot climb the parapet by yourself, but this is made possible by another's help? These kind of statements are wide, they're varied, they're disconnected. The flow of the language is often broken up because you're dealing with one subject, he'll stop and then he'll just have another. And I can imagine days have gone by, perhaps some evenings he was sat down writing 1 or 2. Some are long, some are short. And I think it's why a lot of people would be turned off by it. Because the very next one he talks about is, do not let the future trouble you. You will come to it, if that is what you must, possessed of the same reason that you apply now to the present. Disconnected things. The challenge for the reader is to make sense in his or her life today. So let's talk about that first one, about help. I think it's become a truism that a lot of people, because of ego and vanity, will not accept help. And it's a problem in the modern world. I could have done with some help in the past and I've steadfastly refused. No, I can do it, as though to have accepted another person's help would have belittled myself. Of course it wouldn't, and it was idiotic to even think so. But that is what we're dealing with. So for a man who had reached the highest pinnacle of political power and influence to say the same, or to say something about accepting help, you could take a lot of pleasure and comfort from that. Also, for mental health. There are some people who struggle with depression. I've known many. I've probably been in a slough of despond at times myself. I remember acutely a gentleman who had gone to counselling. He suffered from the black dog. Depression, anxiety, woe is me. But he was open about what the counsellor said, and the counsellor said something along the lines, if you worry about the past, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't change anything. So don't. If you worry about what's going to happen, and it happens, you've worried twice. If you worry about the future and it doesn't come true, then you've worried needlessly. Don't worry. Do not let the future trouble you, Aurelius says. Very similar. When you go through, and like on 2 pages, only one thing that stuck out for myself. Soon you will have forgotten all things. Soon all things will have forgotten you. It's those little snippets that for myself amuse me. I'm quite attracted to it. You no doubt would pick up on something else, something completely different. And that's the beauty of the book. It's what you make of it, or I should say, what you take from it, or take out of it, is what you and yourself put into it in terms of effort and thought. Oh, yeah, okay. I can see what he's saying here. Imagine you were now dead, or had not lived before this moment. Now view the rest of your life as a bonus, and live it as nature directs. An elderly gentleman who is now no longer with us used to dip into this every day. Just randomly would open the page and take something from it. And I guess that's the beauty of this type of book. It's not a self-help book. It's not like a modern self-help book, because it was never designed for that. This is the inner thoughts of one person who lived thousands of years ago. And if you read it and you take certain things from it, and there's an awful lot of things I take from this, out of the 12 books, and I don't know how many hundreds of individual jottings there are, I would take hundreds myself. It's worth the effort, but some of it plainly would not appeal, or at that time I'm reading. Perfection of character is this: to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense. It's the stuff that memes are made of. It's the stuff of wise sayings. There's whole YouTube channels who do nothing but put up the words of Marcus Aurelius or Stoics. I'm not going to go to Stoicism and all what that is. But this is about a man who confronts problems every day, and how does he deal with it? How does he keep a level mind? When you have done good and another has benefited, why do you still look, as fools do, for a third thing besides? Credit for good works or a return. So again, most people who are interested in ethics will very easily understand what is being said here. It makes sense. In fact, the word hypocrite originally came from priests who were supposed to do a set ritual, often hidden behind a curtain, and then come out and tell the audience all is well, even though secretly they had not performed it, or they performed it wrongly, but not told anyone. So hypocrisy has altered its meaning. But what it means now is that you're a hypocrite if you say one thing and mean another. And some people, unfortunately, will look to do good deeds just to get the credit for it. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, of years of writing on that kind of thing. Marcus Aurelius happens to be one who is put into the stream of such writers by such comments. You got a couple of hours to spare, probably on a train journey or something, just getting it out and dipping in and out once you've read it. It's really interesting. But saying that, I could go page after page after page, even book after book, and there's nothing in there that grabs the attention. Not a problem. Again, you may read this kind of book like any book and then pick up stuff that you would not pick before because in the past you weren't ready to receive it. You should leave another's wrong where it lies. Wonderful. So this is in book 11. Have I done something for the common good? Then I too have benefited. Have this thought always ready to hand, and no stopping. A lot of the stuff that you read here, you have to think as well. What's he meaning? What's the interpretation here? And I like this because I saw the word Socrates often. He often mentioned Socrates, and he criticised the vermin of the people who found him guilty and then put him to death. He says, Socrates used to call the popular beliefs bogies, things to frighten children with. Grapes unripe, ripened, raisined, all changes, not into non-existence, but into not yet existence. I think that kind of stuff is the most powerful statements you could ever read. We often look backwards when we are changing. We often look back and think, oh, I looked like this in the past. Yes, but you're now changing. Every day is changing. Not out of existence, but into not yet existence. And we should look forward to that. We should look forward to what we're going to look like in 5 years' time. We should look forward to the not yet existence that occurs and not worry about the future. Just focus on the now, help others, be humble, and be grateful. He doesn't specifically talk about the great pillars of what in modern terms, modern thought is known as, energy. Love, forgiveness, gratitude, and creativity. But effectively, they're there. They're in this book. The not yet existence. If it is not right, don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. I think the modern world could learn a lot from that. I think we individually can learn a lot from that. So meditations. It's written of a person at a different time. And you may say, well, how's that going to help me today? It will help you a lot. Because although it's from a different period and time and culture, it's still a human being. And it's the same with any esoteric book or book of pithy aphorisms, sayings. A lot still applies to us. The only key and the only suggestion I could make that may help is that you've got to strip away the stuff that is no longer appropriate, but take the nuggets that are. And if you read a book like this, over time, slowly, you might find one nugget. That's it. You might think, only one thing in a book like this? Yeah, but you found one thing, and it could be golden. So, very interesting book. I don't get any sense of what Marcus Aurelius is like. I don't understand what he would have been. I think if I am interested, or we are interested in knowing more about Marcus Aurelius, we need to search elsewhere if that is something. But he is considered to be one of the great thinkers. But not everyone cared or cares for him. So Edward Gibbon, who did The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, thought that Marcus Aurelius had a severe and a laborious virtue. He had virtue, but it was severe and it was laborious. In other words, he's at the extreme end, the stripped down end of what is virtue. Vetus, what makes a good man and woman in the way they conduct themselves in society, inwardly as well as outwardly. And there are many types that say you should be like this, freestanding, careful in your speech. Marcus Aurelius is towards the severe end, the difficult end, the black belt end, so to speak. So there you go. I've really enjoyed Marcus Aurelius. This is probably the 8th or 9th reading, if I remember correctly. Each time I've read it, it's been different. And I certainly wanted to bring it to the fore on the channel to begin with. So it is with regret that I say goodbye to Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. But there are others to read in his stead. Ta-ta for now.